So now we are talking about the Ketu mahadasha, which is a 7-year planetary time period. So let's start off with talking about what is Ketu in general. What is Ketu associated with? Well, Ketu and the nodes in general, they are associated and connected with a shitload of things in general. But Ketu, it represents, headless things, because Ketu is a body without a head. So Ketu can easily be associated with ghosts and paranormal activities, and Ketu can be associated with fish and dogs. Ketu is associated with goddamn, my brain just froze and shit. Ketu is associated with moksha. There we go. Ketu is a moksha karga. And moksha means like spiritual liberation and separation from things. The moksha houses is the 4th, 8th, and 12th house in one's chart, because these are like places and areas of rest and retreat. The 4th house is supposed to be the house that sort of shows you about your relationship with your mother or mother figure in your home life, and just the happiness of the home. Your home is supposed to be like a place where you feel that you can retreat from the world and just be yourself and let down your shield. And in a sense, stereotypically, you might feel that way or should feel that way about your mother or mother figure. You should feel that you can just come to your mother about anything. You should feel that when you're around your mother, when you speak to your mother, you should be feeling like a baby sucking on your mama's titty. You feeling nurtured and safe and comforted and held and warmed and provided. But of course, as we all know, that's not the fucking case with everybody. But the 4th house, as I just told you, it should be like a place of comfort and retreat. The 8th house is a different type of retreat. The 8th house is associated with death and transitions and endings. So the type of retreat that you get is a cold one. One where your ass is buried in the fucking ground and shit. So the 8th house is that type of, rest. That type of retreat. It's like that, it's like, that eternal rest. That eternal sleep. And also the 8th house in general is associated with like sex, and it's associated with your in-laws. So let's say you hate your damn family, which would be seen from the 2nd house. The 2nd house is the family that you come from, and the 8th house is your in-laws, your spouse's family. So let's say that maybe you hate your family, you can't get along with your family, but your husband's family or your wife's family, your girlfriend or boyfriend's family, you love them, they love you, they treat you good. You rather be around them more than you rather be around your own damn family. So you might view your in-laws and your spouses and girlfriend or boyfriend's family as your form of retreat and escape from your family. You might view sex as a form of escape and leaving and getting away from the problems of the world and whatnot. And yeah, so now we got the 12th house. The 12th house is associated with foreign lands, faraway places, and isolated places, which is, jails and rehabilitation centers and prisons and hospitals, deserts, forests, a whole different country and land or whatever. Shit like that. That can be seen from the 12th house. These are the moksha houses. That places where you retreat from the world, where you are separated from the world, where you can just escape from the world. And that is what Ketu signifies. Ketu is like the significator of the moksha houses. This is a moksha significator. So Ketu can be associated with renunciation too and stuff. Let me see what else Ketu is associated with before I get goddamn, forget. The deity that's associated with Ketu is Ganesha, and Ganesha is also like the remedy for issues and ailments you might have with your Ketu placement in your chart. One of the reasons why Ganesha is seen as a deity that is greatly like associated with Ketu is because Ganesha, if you know the mythological lore of Ganesha, you would know that he was decapitated. He lost his head. And what did I say at the beginning of this video? Ketu is associated with headless things. And after Ganesha had his head decapitated, he ends up getting his head replaced with that of an elephant. So therefore, aside from ghostly and headless things and Ganesha, you might just see more of a theme of elephants and elephant photos. Like I said, maybe fish and dogs will become something of more prime importance in your life or whatever during your Ketu dasha. I've already lived through my Ketu dasha, and not too long ago, in like last year, I ended my Ketu Antardasha. So I'm familiar with this time period. I remember at the end of my Ketu Antardasha, before it ended, like a few days before it ended, my own dog, my own pet dog, he died. He passed away. So there's definitely like a connection with Ketu and dogs and stuff. And I believe I ended up running across and buying a Ganesha little idol and figure, because I just liked the way it looked. And that was before I sort of did all my deep, heavy research and all that stuff, I believe, on Rahu and Ketu and just... But anyway, you can see those connections and themes with Ketu during your Ketu mahadasha. But that really isn't too much more that I can honestly think of and say. Ketu represents wherever Ketu is placed in your chart, it represents an area and place in your life in your chart. Wherever it's placed in your chart, it represents an area in your life that you have already experienced, that you have already been through and done. You know, and because you already experienced and done that thing, you don't have no interest and desire to do those things again, because you already experienced and done it. So if you do decide to go towards that area of your life again and do it again, you might want to experience it on a new level in a way that you haven't experienced it before. So it's almost like I'm just giving you some wild ass example. Let's say Ketu is in your 8th house, or is conjunct your 8th lord or something. And I just told you that the 8th house can also be looked at for sex. By my logic, you could say that, you might say that, oh, you might not be interested in sex. That could be possible, but maybe on a more practical, realistic sense, with someone who has Ketu in their 8th house, they might not know what they want sexually. They might just be having sex, but they're not satisfied with the sex they're getting. And the sex could be great. It could be great, but it's like they want more and more and more. You know why they might want more and more and more? Aside from me just telling you that Ketu represents an area that you already experienced. So let's think about that, for example, before I go any deeper. If Ketu represents an area of your life that you already experienced and dealt with, you know, and if you want to, you'll either be dissatisfied with that area, or you might want to experience it in a different way. A Ketu in the 8th house person, they might want to just have wild, crazy sex. They might just do all type of crazy, strange things because they're trying to feel something. You see, with Ketu being headless, there's a huge difference that separates our head from like the body. And you see, our head is like the only part of our body that contains all 5 of our senses. Our head contains our ear, our ability to hear, our nose, our ability to smell, our tongue, our ability to taste, our eyes, our ability to see, and then of course you got your skin, your ability to touch and feel. It is the only area of our body that contains all 5 of your senses. But you see, Ketu represents something that's headless. So if you don't have your head, what do you have to experience? Only thing you can really do is just feel stuff. That's all you got. With your body, you can only touch things. You can only feel things. That's all you can do. Imagine how much of a quality of life you would have if the only sense that you had that was working on you was your ability to touch things, to feel things. You can't hear nothing. You can't smell nothing. You can't talk. You can't do shit. You can only feel stuff, but you can't hear nothing. You can't see nothing. You can't smell nothing. If you were somebody who was like that, you too wouldn't be able to really enjoy life. You might want to kill yourself and go crazy, or maybe become very spiritual. And all that stuff that I just said is what's associated with Ketu. It's associated with, you know, schizophrenia and just crazy manic episodes and renunciation and separation and all that good stuff. So all these different broad things that I'm saying are things that you might experience during your Ketu mahadasha. You might retreat yourself from the world. You might sort of become like an ascetic and renounce the world in a sense. The things of this world that you might once enjoy might not bring you pleasure anymore. And if you do go towards those things again, you might want to experience them in some crazy, unrealistic way and sense, because you want to try to feel something that you haven't felt before with your Ketu mahadasha. What else can I say? And another thing, even though this is not related to Ketu, you know how I was just telling you how you know, Ketu doesn't have a head and how the head contains all the senses? This also sort of explains why it's sort of debated and believed that Rahu is really exalted in Taurus and Ketu is exalted in Scorpio, because Rahu contains the head, which has all the senses. Taurus rules the second house originally, which is the face, which is this area, the eyebrows and here. And I'll get deeper into that when I do my Rahu mahadasha video, but I'm gonna look at my notes real quick, make sure I'm not missing enough of the Ketu mahadasha. But a vast variety of things can happen during your Ketu mahadasha. Like I said, you might want to retreat from the world. The things of it might not bring you no pleasure and satisfaction, and you might want to either experience the things in the material world to an extreme sense, and or you might just become more of a spiritual route, a detached route during your Ketu mahadasha. But ultimately, you gotta look at the sign, the nakshatra, the house, and the dispositor of your Ketu to see specifically what the hell's going to go on. And you gotta look at your chart from many different perspectives and ascendants. You gotta look at from the birth ascendant, see where Ketu goes from the birth ascendant. See where is Ketu going from the moon being your ascendant, the moon chart. See where is Ketu landing at from sun being your ascendant, the sun chart. And then to go see things, you must see things from Dasha Lagna. So make the planet of the mahadasha that you're running, make that the ascendant and see what's going on. So you will make Ketu your ascendant and see what yogas and planetary combinations are being formed. Look for Raj yogas, Dun yogas, Arishta yogas. Look for all these different planetary combinations to see what could happen when you enter your Ketu major period. And that's all I have to say about what you can and will experience during your Ketu mahadasha. And I'll see you when I make my next video.